Now that She-Hulk has finally reached its end, the question remains, of the 8 Disney Plus shows in the Marvel Universe that have existed, which one is the best? Let's talk about it. What's going on, beautiful people? That guy right here. And if you've been keeping up with the channel, you know that I have been watching heavily the new Disney Plus show, She-Hulk, and we just watched the finale. And so now that we've done so, we've got to check out and rate what is the best and worst Disney Plus show. Now, before you guys jump in the comment section with your pitchforks and flame torches, just know this is just my personal opinion based on some of the shows that I have seen. And if you have a different opinion, hit them up in the comments. Let me know your top 8 and which one you think has been the absolute best that Marvel and Disney Plus have produced so far. But without further ado, we're going to jump into this list. And so, just to start things off, we got to say what the contenders are. So, the contenders are obviously WandaVision, The Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, we've got Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, and we've got She-Hulk. She-Hulk obviously being the most recent one. So I'm going to do this list starting from number 8, and then we're going to work our way to the top spot. So I thought about doing a tier list, but then I was like, you know, the good people over at MCU Report had posted a nice, beautiful graphic that is somewhere over here. So starting out at number 8, this is a tough choice. Because I don't want anyone to be upset at the decision that I make or the show that I choose to be in last place. I think all of these shows in a way are special, and they have kind of their own, they are a big part of Phase 4 in their own way. Obviously, whether it be introducing new characters, reintroducing old characters, so on and so forth. So just know that the eighth spot, while it is my least favorite, it's not to say that it's bad in any way. So starting things off with my least favorite show, I think when it comes to my least favorite show, I think I got to go with Hawkeye. And it's not to say that Hawkeye was bad. I think, you know, when we look at it, obviously I love Vincent D'Onofrio coming back as Kingpin. I was not expecting that. That was a nice surprise. Seeing the new Black Widow, I think, was exciting. The cute, I guess, kind of quirkiness between her and Kate Bishop, I think, was really cool. So there was definitely elements within the show that I really enjoyed. But the reason that I put it in the 8th spot is because if I'm being honest, I really, when I heard that they were making a Hawkeye show, I was very excited because Hawkeye, you know, in the Avengers, I felt like he was often underplayed. He was, you know, underrated. He didn't get a lot of the screen time that I feel like he truly deserved. I think he was a great character, and the incident that happened with the blip and him losing his family, I think could have been a great opportunity for them to jump into a Hawkeye show in which he tries to find redemption after the decisions of becoming the Ronin. Maybe it could have been about him trying to rid himself of that new identity and return back to his Hawkeye roots, as you know, and have that show segue into some of the events of him coming back when, you know, Black Widow tells him that there's a chance to bring everyone back. I think that would have been great. They could have even have taken a darker approach like Daredevil and had, you know, just a Hawkeye show in which he, for the majority of it, plays as Ronin and is basically just out here just dropping bodies, but, you know, encounters some sort of plot twist or something. Like I said, maybe Natasha Romanoff tells him about, you know, the ability to bring everyone back, and he decides to find some redemption, and that could have been the second half of the season or something like that. But the way that they did it with him just, you know, mentoring Kate Bishop, I get that what that's leading to is obviously the Young Avengers, and they had to bring that character in somehow, and having him be kind of a mentor definitely made sense. But the action just wasn't hitting for me. Much of the story just felt kind of dry, and things didn't really pick up until the last 2 episodes. Now, obviously, this goes into a whole different discussion about, you know, the pacing of a lot of the MCU shows, which I think they're starting to get a little bit better with. But at the time, you know, when Hawkeye had come out, it was really one of the beginning shows when they were doing all of these. Well, not really the beginning. I think there have been about 3 or 4 other shows that existed before Hawkeye. So that makes it even worse that Hawkeye was a show that, you know, they had seen and practiced with other shows before. And so by the time Hawkeye came out, I think a lot of people were really expecting or hoping that there would be a little bit more conciseness and better pacing between the episodes and the stories. But I think Hawkeye only had 6 episodes. So there really wasn't a lot to work with. And I really wish that they had fleshed out the character of Hawkeye a little bit more. So coming in at number 7, this is another tough one. I think I'm gonna have to give it to Miss Marvel. And this isn't to hate on Miss Marvel. I know Miss Marvel got an enormous amount of hate for a number of different reasons. I didn't find the show to be terrible. I really didn't. I think, it was hard for me to get into in the first 2 or 3 episodes, but I think towards the second half, once the plot really formed itself and you started to learn a little bit more about Kamala and she started to really pick up her hero role, especially in the last episode or 2, I think I started to really like her. I think I just had wished that had come into play a little bit earlier on, and we got to see a little bit more of that just badass action that we saw in the final 2 episodes. But with everything, all that being said, the comedy just wasn't really hitting for me. It was trying to be a little bit more lighthearted, but it was a coming of age story. So in that essence, I give it credit for that. I think that show really did have a lot of incredible elements to it. But for me personally, if I had to choose a number 7 spot, I would say Miss Marvel was my second least favorite show. I think it had some good elements to it, but all in all, it just didn't hit for me. And that makes sense. The show really wasn't for me. I think it was a coming of age story that was meant for a younger generation about a younger character who's coming up, being inspired by all of these, Captain Marvel and all these heroes and wanting to be a hero herself. I think if we're looking at it in that essence, the show did its job. But for me, it just didn't hit for me until the last episode or 2 when I really started to get into it. Next up, if we're looking at the number 6 spot, this is another tough choice, but I think I might have to give it to... I know you guys are going to get mad at me for this. You guys are going to get mad at me for this, but I think I'm going to have to give it to What If. And I say that because What If had some good episodes. I think the individual storytelling is great. And the idea of What If could literally go on forever. I know they're making a season 2, and I'm excited for that. I'm hoping that each episode is in its own... even better than what they produced in the first season. And I don't want to say that there were episodes in What If in its first season that I did really enjoy, but there were some that I just didn't like at all. And so with that, I got to put it in the number 6 spot. It was good, but there were episodes that I wish were a little bit better, a little bit longer, but I'm excited for season 2. So, but it's got to go in the number 6 spot. I'm sorry. So when it comes to number 5, we're looking at, I think we're going to look at WandaVision in the number 5 spot. And I know a lot of people may disagree with that. WandaVision is definitely, I've talked to other people about it. And for many people, WandaVision is in the top 3. And I think that's great. But WandaVision for me is another one of those shows that the plot in the beginning just felt a little slow for me. And the whole idea of Wanda, Wanda is one of the most powerful forces inside the entire MCU, and I just wish they utilized that aspect more, of her just kind of doing what you would hope that she could do with her abilities. And instead they've really played on, especially in WandaVision, her trauma and a lot of these events that have happened in the past. And don't get me wrong, that all makes sense, it really does. But I just found that the first couple episodes, or at least the first half of the season, really dragged on. It was one of the first seasons or series of a show that ran for 9 episodes. I think it was the first Marvel show that they dropped. And so every episode had its own theme. And I think that was really cool. I really like that. And maybe I just need to give it another shot. If you disagree with this, let me know why WandaVision is really good. And respectfully, let me know why I should give it another shot. I think I may consider watching it again. And of course, this ranking may change. But at least for now, it's a good show. I enjoyed it when I watched it the first time. But it also has one of the corniest lines that I've ever seen in a Marvel show outside of Falcon and Winter Soldier, where they talk about, oh, they'll never know what you did for them. Homegirl enslaved an entire town. I don't see how everybody's just expected to ignore that for the sake of the fact that she was an Avenger. That part kind of bugs me. But other than that, I don't want to get on a tangent about WandaVision. All I will say is that WandaVision is a good show, and there are elements within it that I do really enjoy. I just wish that we could stop kind of beating around the bush here and playing on the same traumatic incidents that have happened for Wanda in WandaVision and Multiverse of Madness. And the next thing that they do with Wanda, they need to come up with a new story. There needs to be something else that she's doing outside of being traumatically, traumatized by some of these events of her past. I just want to see the character progress. And that was my big issue with WandaVision. I had also watched other shows, Disney Plus shows, before I got to WandaVision. It wasn't the first one I watched. So that might have played a factor in it as well. Now when we're looking at the number 6 spot, We got Falcon and Winter Soldier, we got Loki, we got Moon Knight, and we've got She-Hulk. Now this is where things start to get a little complicated, you know, a little complicated. And that's because I like all of these shows individually. It's just determining what show is better slightly than another, looking at all the episodes that existed, not just one episode, not just one character, but looking at all the episodes that existed from start to finish, pacing, you know, action, music, story, character development, all those played a role in here. And so if I'm looking at the number 6 spot, I think I'm going to give it to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And that is not because wait, hold on. My bad. This is the number 5 spot. Math is hard. We have 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Number 5 spot. My bad. I think I'm going to give to Falcon and Winter Soldier. So WandaVision would have been the number 6 spot. I don't know. I don't remember what I said. I might have said it was number 5. WandaVision was, because we had Hawkeye, we had Miss Marvel, we had What If. So WandaVision was the number 5 spot. Sorry, I'm going backwards. The number 4 spot, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. The number 4 spot has got to go to Falcon and Winter Soldier. My bad, guys. My bad. Math is hard. It is. Number 4 spot. Okay. The number 4 spot on this list. This is a show that is good. And for the majority of it, it was good, but it wasn't great. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think, had good pacing towards the end. But it definitely struggled in the beginning to kind of pick up the plot a little bit. One thing I will say is that I like the progression of the Falcon. I like his progression to picking up the mantle. I remember there was a lot of talk and a lot of debate about who it was going to be, you know, who was going to actually pick up the mantle, because, you know, in most of the episodes, you had Falcon kind of denying his role. He didn't want the role. He didn't want the job. Understandably, right? You know, so it's a lot to pick up. It's a lot to live up to. I didn't like the fact that, like, John whatever ended up getting the shield and then ended up kind of being a dirty character, and then Bucky had it, and, you know, like, it was a lot of Falcon just kind of struggling to decide whether he wanted the role or not, whether he felt like he deserved the role, whether, you know, people would accept him in that role. And looking back on it now, I think that that was a really cool element. But at the time, I remember being kind of annoyed because I was like, bro, why wouldn't you want to pick up the shield? Like, Captain America offered this role to you and you don't want to take it. But now I look back and I'm like, okay, you know what? I get it. That makes sense. So yeah, I think the progression of the story was okay. I wish that Winter Soldier, you know, or Bucky, I know he's not the Winter Soldier anymore, so his fighting style was definitely different. That was hard for me to kind of look up to. It was hard for me to see him just kind of get bodied in a couple situations. And obviously that's because he's not the Winter Soldier. So, you know, he's not going to be fighting the same with the same ferocity and intensity. But yeah, I will say that there was elements in the show that I liked. And I think when it comes down to it, though, there were some moments where I just felt the story to be a little slow. And you know, I think all in all, it was just a pacing issue for me. But it was a good show, which is why it's in the number 4 spot. It's not bad at all. I just think that there were some shows, whether it be pacing or the character developments or the emotional context within those stories, that just hit me a little bit closer to home. Which segues into what I feel to be my number 3 spot, which I would say is gotta be She-Hulk. And I know, before you comment, okay, I know that so many people love to hate on She-Hulk. This is my personal opinion. You don't have to agree. I know most of you probably don't. It's my personal opinion. I think She-Hulk is a top 3 Marvel show, in my opinion. Now, this may just be because I'm coming off the heels of watching it, but I felt like what they were trying to do, they accomplished very well. I liked the humor. I liked the pacing of the story for the most part. And while I didn't enjoy every episode, I felt that there was enough, there were enough good moments within this show that kept me watching week over week. Then there were bad moments. While I think episode 3 and 5 and 6 were my least favorite. Looking back now, after seeing how the whole story played out, I think that they did exactly what they were trying to do. Like I said, I felt the humor was there. I liked She-Hulk as a character. I liked Jen Walters even more. I loved the appearance of Daredevil. I think that gives it big points for me personally. Daredevil is one of my favorite Marvel characters. So seeing him come in episode 8 was a beautiful thing. I really loved his character. I loved the character dynamic between him and Jen Walters. A lot of people will say that they ruined Matt Murdock's character, but I would disagree. If you really want to see that version of Matt Murdock, then you can watch the Netflix shows. And I think that those 3 seasons are beautiful in their own way. If you want a little bit more of Matt Murdock, you can go and watch The Defenders, which I think gives you even more Matt Murdock. And I think that show in its own is a beautiful story, and I love every second of it. But they don't need to bring that exact version into the show. I think Daredevil Born Again will go down that road a little bit. I think it'll be a little darker, a little edgier. It may not be as dark as the Netflix shows, but that's okay. It's been years since that show existed, and it's okay for the character to develop and to grow and to change a little bit, in my personal opinion. I don't think they made him soft. I don't think that they made him weak. I think we're gonna see the real Daredevil in his show, but we got to remember this wasn't his show, but it was fun to do a little cameo, and I think Marvel doing those fun moments, I think, is a good thing. I don't know why people hate on it so much. Again, I'm not hard to please. You know, oh, you're gonna have Daredevil in the show? Great. I'll watch it. And when he showed up, it was the best episode. And then they did episode 9, and to me, that was even better. So all in all, I felt like She-Hulk was a show I'd watch again. I think every show in the top 3 for me are shows that I would watch again, for many reasons. And I felt like She-Hulk was a funny show. I loved seeing Emil Blonsky. I loved Hulk when he was in it for a little bit. I loved the Wong episodes. Like, I thought it was a great show. It did exactly what the character of She-Hulk is, and I think it embodied that very well. So yeah, it's in the number 3 spot. Sue me. Number 2 spot, we're looking at Loki versus Moon Knight. And both of these shows, respectfully, are the peak of the peak, in my opinion. I loved Moon Knight so much. Yeah, Oscar Isaac crushed that role. The character of Moon Knight has so much depth. And I really appreciate a lot of the rawness of this show mixed with some of the action and the cool moments in between. In terms of Loki, you get to see a real different side of the character, the one that you haven't seen before. And this was a very interesting decision for them to give Loki his own show, because in a lot of the movies, he had really very much been a side character, a supporting character for the most part. And so to give him that opportunity to be in this role as the main lead and go through a bit of character development when he was with the Timekeepers and all that stuff, I think this, was an incredible show. So the decision is difficult either way, but I think if I had to decide, if I had to choose, I think I'm going to give the number 2 spot. I think I'm going to give it to Moon Knight. And it's for no other reason other than some kind of rough pacing issues in the beginning. I think Moon Knight had 8 or 9 episodes, something like that. I think the action was phenomenal. I loved the character development. The Queen Calumet, she was amazing. I loved her. I had a big crush on her. Still have a big crush on her. She was so good in that show. The whole Arthur Harrow arc was awesome. The Egyptian gods was incredible. But I do feel that the only negative side, if I had to choose a number 2 spot, was that I felt like the pacing was a little off in some of the episodes. I felt like there were some episodes that moved the story pretty well, and then there were others where it was just kind of, I was like, I was kind of bummed I had to wait another week because I didn't really feel like too much had happened, in my personal opinion. But I loved the rawness of the show. I loved that they talked so heavily about mental illness with the character. I think it brought out a much more grounded view of the character than you'd see in some of these other characters that we've come to know that have nothing more than daddy issues, where that being the only catalyst for their decisions or for a lot of their actions. Whereas Moon Knight really struggled and had these really traumatic moments in his life that caused him to become the way that he is. And there was a sense of duality with the character that I think Oscar Isaac just accomplished and brought to life so well. Moon Knight is without a doubt one of my favorite Marvel shows for sure. However, the number 1 spot has got to go with Loki for no other reason. Me liking it for completely different reasons. Loving to see the progression of Loki. You really seeing a more humanized version of him. I think that was really, really great. However, I do feel like from start to finish, Loki does something that a lot of the shows did not do for me. That kept me hooked in every single episode. The action was there, the plot was there. We're introduced to the lead antagonist for this next phase, this next arc of Marvel, being Kang the Conqueror, or at least a version of him. And we really see that this show was the catalyst for what we'd see in Multiverse of Madness, for what we'd see in Spider-Man No Way Home. A lot of those elements began here. We start to deal with the multiverse, and I think Loki has played a big part in that. I think if there's any show that I'm very excited to get a season 2, it's definitely Loki. And that is a show that I have watched multiple times and will continue to watch multiple times for nothing other than to see Loki progress as a character in a way that we never would have expected. The plot, his budding friendship with Owen Wilson's character, and so much more. You know, a potential love interest that was happening there. It was just stuff that you'd see in a character that you never thought you would see. And so, yeah, that mixed with its pacing, incredible music, awesome intro. If you guys would check out the intro, so good. I loved it. There's so much I loved about Loki, and for that reason and many more, I got to give it the number 1 spot. But that's my list. That's my list. Hopefully, whether you guys agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below, because I'm very curious to see what your favorite Marvel show is and why you chose it to be in the number 1 spot for you. And it's okay if we disagree. That's the whole point of these videos. That's the whole point of this, a video like this, is to have an open discussion about what my favorite is and what your favorite is. And if we disagree, tell me why. Why is it your favorite show? I'm not going to tell you you're stupid for saying Miss Marvel or What If is your favorite show. If it's your favorite, it's your favorite. Respect. I respect it either way. But let me know what your favorite is. Drop a like on this video if you did enjoy it. I really do appreciate the feedback and just you guys supporting the videos. It really means a lot. I love talking about a lot of different things, reacting to a lot of different things. And I hope if you enjoy these kinds of videos and want to see more tier lists and things like that, let me know down in the comment section. I'd be happy to make more of these. But if you do enjoy, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, all that good YouTube stuff. We got videos coming out every single week, multiple videos. So there's a lot of content here for you guys, and I appreciate you guys being a part of the family. But until then, that's all I gotta say about this. We'll do more tier lists, I'm sure. Let me know what you guys would love to see me rate and things like that. But until then, I'm gonna go rewatch Loki. As always, my name is That Guy Rye. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.